Hello everyone, welcome to Gaga's Farmhouse. I'm out and about, I'm in the annex, which aka my car, and I'm going out to get some sandwiches because it's dinner time. And guess what? What's for dinner? I don't care. I really don't care. Here's the thing, I've been cooking for 60 years, so I just can't get the energy up or the interest to think of something. I mean, I try to cook 3 or 4 nights a week, but there's just some days that I just can't do this. I wish I had a list of all the meals I've cooked over the years. Many, many, many. Some were successful, some were not. I remember once when I was a kid, my mom tried to get real fancy, and she cooked cheese souffle. And she was all that, and nobody would eat it, and not even the dog. So I don't know what went wrong with that. And then when I was first married, I lived near an Air Force base and worked in a place that had a lot of military wives, and we were from all different parts of the country, all different local cultures, and it was just interesting to learn how people cook different things. So my aunt was a Volga Russian. They were from Russia, but they were Germans. So they were moved into the Empress brought Germans. She was German, by the way, but she brought Germans over to Russia and put them in a certain area where there was a lot of farming, and they lived there, but they didn't mix much with the Russians. They did kind of have a mashup of the food. So my aunt made something called birak, and it's beef and onions and cabbage. It's all cooked down, and it's put inside of a yeast roll. They're absolutely delicious. So when I'm on this working with all these military wives, there was one that was from Kansas, I believe, and they knew all about biraks because I guess it's very big there. They even have restaurants. First time I ever heard of someone else knowing about them or cooking them. And I think those are my family specialty. That is just something my aunt made, and then we learned how to do it because they were so delicious. They're like handheld. They're like Hot Pockets. The best thing you've ever... Oh, they're so wonderful. But anyway, there was another woman, and I believe she was from Nebraska. And we were talking one day about grocery shopping. We shopped between the local grocery stores and the military. On the military base, there was a grocery store. I forget what they're called. I don't know. Anyway, somebody will know in the comments. So, she said, yeah. She listed her groceries, and I said, oh, what are you making this week? Her family, I guess this is how she grew up. So this is how she cooked because this is what she knew. They had the same menu every week. She bought the same groceries, cooked the same food in the same order every week. I've never heard of this. Have any of you heard of that? Like Sunday they would have roast beef, Monday they would have baked chicken, Tuesday they would have ham, and on like that. I have never heard of this. And it's like, I don't know. I don't think I could do that because what if I'm not hungry for ham on Tuesday? So I would go into the food store and looked around, look what looked good, or what I had a taste for, or what my husband had a taste for, and we went from there. But that style of cooking, I didn't know. Now, I moved to that military place in Texas in 1967. And I moved from Chicago. So you would think that Chicago had a very vast variety of foods. At that time, there was not much of a Hispanic population in Chicago. So when I got into Texas, it was large Hispanic. And believe it or not, it was the first time I had ever seen or eaten an avocado was in Texas in 1967. And one of my coworkers, her parents owned a little Mexican restaurant. It was kind of like a very small. It was like almost like a drive-in, but they didn't have a drive-thru. It was just a small. They call it Taco Hut, and it was like a little hut. That was my introduction to Tex-Mex food. It was fabulous. They made their tortillas from scratch, and from scratch, I mean, they had tubs of corn in the back that were soaking and like fermenting or something, and then they would grind that down, and I don't know what the process was, but it was delicious. And there was something else they made called guiso. That was kind of the nickname for them, carne guisada, but it was guiso, and it was more like a stew. It had no tomato. It wasn't tomato based. I think it had green peppers in it. I think it was pork. It was so delicious. And potato and egg tacos I got hooked on. But yeah, I do crave a lot of foods. The other day I craved hot sour soup so bad we had to go get it. But as far as cooking, I just don't have the energy for it. You know, you have to plan, you have to organize everything, you have to cook it, and it's just after 60 years I don't care. I do like to eat, you can tell. But and I do enjoy preparing and cooking for parties. That's fun, but I'm kind of winding down to that also. So just let me know, how do you plan your meals? How do you cook? And then also, it's almost impossible to cook for two people. So last week I made a big batch of macaroni and cheese. I gave some to my son and his family. I froze some and we ate some. You just can't. How are you going to cook from scratch macaroni and cheese for two people? You don't do it. I do make a lot of bigger, like casseroles and meals, and I divide it up and freeze it so we can have some at another time. So anyway, thanks a lot. I'm here at Portillo's for those of you in the Chicago area, or they have struck out there in Arizona and some maybe Florida, some other places. But we're getting Italian combo sandwiches with green peppers, and we are having them baptized. And if you know, you know. Thanks for joining me. Bye.